Well, hi, everybody. Ezra Levant here. I'm in Toronto. That's the world headquarters of Rebel News. And I really do mean world headquarters. We are international. For a long time, we've done reporting out of the United States and have had U.S.-based journalists. For a while there, we were quite a force on the ground in the U.K. Tommy Robinson and friends worked for us. But I'm pleased to say that as of 5 days ago, we have Avi Yamini representing us in Melbourne, Australia. Melbourne, Australia is very far away, but it happens to be the world's worst lockdown on the pandemic. And by worst lockdown, I don't mean worst from a health perspective. It's not bad at all there. It's very mild. It's worse in terms of its treatment of civil liberties. And Avi, who went to report on an anti-lockdown protest on Saturday, was grabbed by police, smashed on the ground, and arrested for covering the protest. He was not a protester. He was holding a microphone, speaking to a camera about what he had seen, and the cops just went up to him and smashed him. Do we have that video handy? Take a look at this.
He's under arrest. But this guy here is going to be placed under arrest right now. Well, I'm under arrest. I'm media. I am media. I'm media. I've got my permit in my pocket. My permit is in my pocket. I'm fine.
I don't know how anyone can be so calm when you saw him laugh when the cops said, arrest this man. He has no purposeful mission or whatever. He's not here for a reasonable purpose. Or he used some weird language I'd never heard of before. Yeah, he was actually there as a journalist, mate, but you know, in a free country, you don't need to explain and justify your presence somewhere. Smashed to the ground. He didn't even raise the register of his voice. He didn't shout, swear, fight back. He didn't even, you're under stress, your voice goes up a little bit. He didn't even do that. He just said, I've got a permit. The permit's in my pocket. I'm here with Rebel News. The police are out of control in Melbourne, Australia. Melbourne is the largest city in the Australian state of Victoria. And it's a happy coincidence that that's where Avi is. There's so much journalism to do there, don't you think? And I think a little bit of activism too. As you know, here in Canada, we have quite a successful FightTheFines.com project. That's a civil liberties project. We looked around and saw, other than John Carpay, no lawyer in the country was taking cases of ordinary people being roughed up by cops in the name of pandemics. So we hired lawyers, and look at all these cases. I think we have 11 different cases across the country, and some of them we do several videos about. Really helping these people out. I'm so pleased with what we've done. Such a range of people. There's a skateboarding kid. He was a good one. There's the pastor. I don't think we actually gave him a lawyer in the end. A senior walking his dog. A milk store because they didn't have their plastic guardrail up within hours. Just so many interesting cases. I tell you one thing. Australia could use a FightTheFines.com, don't you think? It's impossible for us to do from over here. But now that we got boots on the ground in Australia, maybe Avi can help. So I'm excited about what's cooking in Australia. I haven't been on the show in a while because Monday was a holiday. And I sit here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And as you know, we take, I was going to say calls. Obviously, they're not calls. They're super chats. And I do my best to answer those, and we like the super chats because they give us a few bucks. YouTube lets us keep 70% of the revenues from them, and I like to hear what you're thinking. I like to ramble on these a little bit as opposed to my 8 p.m. Eastern Time prepared show, which is scripted. And I'm going to do a little ramble today. If I have time, I'm going to tell you the curious story, and I hope it won't be too boring, behind this. You know what this is? It's just lip balm, right? Regular thing, couple of bucks. If I have time, I'll tell you a bit about this. But what I want to do is Justin, our producer editor, has put together 10 video clips, things I've been tweeting about, things that are circulating out there. And the story of this little lip balm, I think I can make it interesting. But I'm looking at these 10 videos, and I don't want to ignore them because each one of them is quite something. And I would like to start with the funniest two of them. Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, who married his teacher. He was in high school. He married his teacher who got divorced. And it's just the weirdest. Anyhow, he's so weird. Look at how he wears a mask. Take a look. He's got a mask on, but he takes it off to cough. Yeah, of course he does. I just found that very funny. He knows that the mask is BS. He knows it's health theater, just like airport TSA staff are security theater. I don't think in 20 years a single terrorist has ever been caught at the airport. Have you ever heard of one? It's security theater to make you feel better. Of course, it makes you feel worse. It's stressful. Masks aren't real public health. They're public health theater, as Emmanuel Macron shows. And I just want to show you these LA partiers. Oh, LA is a Democrat town. California is a Democrat state. And they're the Karens of the world. They're the scolds of the world. But they don't believe in it. Certainly not grassroots people. Certainly not over the Labor Day weekend or whatever. Last few weekends of summer. They want to go to a party. Here, take a look at this.
Bro, I paid 18 rocks for my teeth, bro. I wear a mask, bro. I didn't buy all this money for my teeth to wear a mask, bro.
I was outside. The homegirls were outside. We tried to keep it as safe as possible, but you know, a lot of people came.
If you came here and decided you wanted to put yourself at risk or etc., then that's your business. I mean, apparently America is supposed to be a free country. So, you know, you have that option to choose or not.
I won't lie, that looks like a fun party. And I'm not sure if I quite heard that first guy. I think he said, I spent 18 grand on my teeth. I think, is that what he said? So let's see those. A man spends 18 grand, I'm talking about real money, American money, on his teeth. He wants the world to see those pearly chiclets. Let's take a look one more time. I want to look at an $8,000 mouth, $18,000 mouth. Let me just take one more look.
I paid 18 rocks for my teeth, bro. I wear a mask, bro. I didn't buy all this money for my teeth to wear.
And look at that. That's a nice smile. That's a nice smile.
A mask, bro.
I was outside. The homegirls were outside. We tried to keep it as safe as possible, but you know, a lot of people came.
If you came here and decided you wanted to put yourself at risk or etc., then that's your business. I mean, apparently America is supposed to be a free country. So, you know, you have that option to choose or not.
It's also the beautiful people. By definition, beautiful people don't wear masks. That hides their beauty. Don't tell a beautiful person not to wear a mask. Not to wear a mask. I found those enjoyable little clips. I've got 10 of these clips that Justin has put together, and I propose to go through those, and then I'll tell you the story of this lip balm, and hopefully it's not too boring. So we are not the worst in the world. We're certainly not the best in the world. Australia, I mentioned Melbourne, is the worst in the world. I see your super chats will come to them, I promise. The United Kingdom is getting worse. It was really bad, and then they eased off a bit, and now it's getting crazy again. Listen to the health minister, Hancock is his name, saying you should hug one grandparent but not two. Just, I'll show you the clip in 30 seconds, but just think about that. Hey families, hey grandkids, there's Grandma and Grandpa. Grandpa, can you stand over there? Grandma, come and hug the kids. Now, Grandma and Grandpa, you're going to ride in the same car home. You live in the same house, sleep in the same bed. But because the government says, science says, you can't both hug a grandkid, that's against the law. How do you come up with something so stupid? Take a listen to this.
For a family of, say, 5 or 6, this will bring in some significant restrictions. I get that, and we don't do this lightly.
So there's no exception, for example, so you were back to where we were with you can only see one grandparent in that case, for example.
In those circumstances, it will bring in more restrictions. You know, I have 3 children. We have a family of 5, and so we'll be able to see one other person at a time as a whole family. Whilst children are hardly affected in terms of getting ill, we know that they can transmit the disease, and we also know that older people, and most grandparents are older, that older people are more likely to die from the disease. So actually, especially with schools back, the transmission of the disease from children to grandparents is one of the things that we're quite worried about clinically. Because, you know, part of the debate in the last few days... Are you trying to stop then grandparents taking part and helping with childcare when you're trying to get people back to work as well? I'm not actively trying to do that, but I am explaining that is something that we worry about clinically, because as we've been talking about in the last few days, we've seen that the large part of the rise in the last few days has been amongst younger people. And some people have said, oh, well, that's fine because younger people tend not to die from this disease. But the problem is that they do pass it on in exactly the sort of way that you've described, or whether, you know, a teenager to their parents and their parents in turn. So it doesn't matter how old you are. Everybody needs to follow these rules. Just meet up in groups of up to 6. And no more than that. And it's so important that people follow these rules as previously, and we're going to enforce rigorously against them, because we want to see the stop in the rise in the number of cases, and we don't want to get back to having to take more measures, which obviously everybody wants to avoid.
First of all, I don't think everyone wants to avoid them. I think that there's a certain class that's called the ruling class that is having the time of their life. They're not laid off. They're getting paid. Many of the ruling class are getting paid to stay home and do nothing. It's being a 6-month vacation for them. It's wonderful. Second of all, that's just the money side. There's less traffic out there. Restaurants aren't as crowded. Streets aren't as crowded. They're loving it. And the power and the importance. All of a sudden, this whole battalion of public health officers, none of whom we've ever heard of before. In Canada, public health officers typically make between $300,000 and $400,000 a year. Can you believe it? It's more than the Prime Minister. Sheer power. And then you got the sheer kookiness. Like Theresa Tam saying, wear a face mask when you're having sex. Hey, don't pass off your fetishes as medical advice, okay? I mean, that's something you think quietly, Theresa Tam. That's not something you say. Certainly not with a microphone on. Hey guys, wear a mask. No, that's the GIMP mask. That's that whole Pulp Fiction thing. That's not public health. You're getting confused again, Theresa Tam. Oh my God. But back to that Minister Hancock, I believe his name is. Did you hear what he was saying? He talked a lot of blather. But if in the early part of that clip, he said, only 6 people can meet. So if you have a family of 5, mom and dad and 3 kids, and then the grandparents come over, only one grandparent can meet the kids. How does that work? Now that one grandparent then goes home with the other grandparent. Is the virus not, like what? There's no science here, there's no medicine, it's just a bizarre rules for rules' sake, no common sense. And do you think it's good or bad for the mental health of both children, grandchildren, and grandparents to be told you can't meet with you? And he said, we're going to rigorously enforce this. What are you talking about? So if grandparents show up at a house, one has to stay in the car while the other goes in to visit. If both get out of the car, will both be arrested or will one be arrested? I need to know. How can the British be so stupid? This is a Conservative Party in the UK, by the way. The next one, I think you've got it written down, UK Australian police surround woman. I think that's in the UK. And she's just a protester who was at an anti-lockdown rally, if I'm not mistaken. And people at this rally were getting fines of up to £10,000. That's 17,000 Canadian dollars, if my math is right. There have been Black Lives Matter rallies, Antifa riots in the UK with thousands of people. Police don't touch them. But look at the police swarm this lady. She seems like a lovely lady. Swarmed and pushed and fined for peacefully going to an anti-lockdown protest. Take a look. Why were they pushing her? Did you see the beginning? They were grabbing her and pushing her. I understand she's a 55-year-old woman. I think the police were just enjoying the fact that it's like the purge. They can do whatever the hell they want. I'm not for the defunding of police, by the way. I'm for the depoliticization of police. I like police. It just gets hard to like the ones who are doing errands for the left, whether it's the public health left or the politically correct left. I saw this funny video. I'm not sure where this was, if this is in Rochester or where in the United States, but some guy, fairly big guy, was being arrested by a cop who I think was smaller than him. And the cop wasn't doing very well. In fact, he sort of wriggled away. And I forget where I saw this, Jessica, I forget her last name, on Twitter said, maybe he should have just stuck with the arrest. Take a look at this guy. Resists arrest, breaks away, and then gets a little dose of community policing. I don't even understand what's going on here. I'm just thinking he probably should have stayed with the cop. Take a look.
You ain't nothing to do with it, bro. I ain't had nothing to do with this shit.
Hey, bro, you better
Man,
go.
hit me. No, respect myself.
I'm gone.
Get on your feet. Go ahead, get on. Hey. Officer, stop. They beating him. Hey, don't hit me, G. Hey, do not hit me. Fuck all that shit, man. For real. Hey.
Yeah, what do you think happens when police are removed from a community? Well, it's what Thomas Hobbes talked about, the war of all against all. We've talked about this before, the book Leviathan. That life before the social contract where we give up violence to a police force and the rest of us agree not to be violent. The life before we had the social contract, this agreement amongst ourselves, was, quote, nasty, brutish, and short. You know, the other day, Al Sharpton, that's who. Al Sharpton's a radical Black Lives Matter activist. He actually fomented an anti-Semitic riot in New York about 30 years ago. Fake claims of racism, fake claims of rape, whipped up a riot that I think killed people. But he said, maybe you can find it, Al Sharpton said, our communities, as in black communities, need lots of policing, because without the police, it's just going to be nasty, brutish, and short life. You're going to have mobs of big criminals and little criminals, gangs, thieves, and Al Sharpton himself, who has all the street cred you want. Do we have that clip? Let's take a listen.
Ben, or are you seeing the New York City security fray at the edges?
We've always heard about the tale of two cities. On the side of the city that I come from, which is blacker and poorer, we've seen more in terms of gun usage. You know, I got a lot of attention when I did the eulogy for George Floyd's funeral, but I also, a month later, preached a one-year-old kid's funeral in Brooklyn who was killed by a stray bullet. So we're seeing both. 6 people were shot over this Labor Day weekend at a festivity in Brooklyn. So I would say statistically we're not much higher than we were, but on the ground it is certainly feeling more violent, feeling more unsafe in unsafe communities, if you know what I mean. I'm talking about in communities where we were somewhat having to deal with more crime. It feels more in many ways dangerous. And the fact that you have people that are disproportionately essential workers that have had to go to work. They did not have the summer or the pandemic off. So it has been in stressful areas slightly more stressful. I don't think the headlines are exactly right. I think they embellish it. But clearly, those that feel the worst has gotten even a worse feeling during this pandemic period in New York.
And I hear the fears of again, the defunding the police or cutting the police budget by $1 billion in New York City will disproportionately impact who? The poorest people in New York City, and also disproportionately impact people of color, Rev, with school safety monitors being yanked out of there and other police officers that certainly many people of color and their representatives in New York City feel are essential workers themselves.
I've said, and you and I have discussed this, we need to reimagining how we do policing. But when you are talking about the fact that, A, we are in the areas where that is inundated with guns, that has this serious problems of our people being given guns that can't even get a summer program. To take all policing off is something that I think a latte liberal may go for as they sit around the Hamptons discussing this as some academic problem. But people living on the ground need proper policing. Yes, we need more resources in different areas like mental health, but we do not need our grandmothers prey to those that are being the users of products of the big gun manufacturers in this country.
He's trying to at the end there, he's trying to blame the big gun manufacturer of this country. Other than that, I think I agreed with most of what he said. I like how he says it's latte liberals in the Hamptons who want to defund the police, not grandmothers who are prey. Hey, while I'm yapping, Dan Scavino tweeted out a killer ad, 15 seconds of Kamala Harris laughing and Biden on his knee. Maybe you could find that. It's like I think it's a 15-second vid. It was so quick, but it was just the toughest ad I've ever seen. So there was also a reference to the police in schools. Why would you have police in schools? Why was it started as a practice? Well, a lot of schools, I remember I went to a high school that's in Calgary, at the time was one of the largest high schools in town, 1,800 kids. That's a pretty big place. So you have a community of 1,800 people, it's not going to be surprising you have a cop. The idea was to make people comfortable with police and someone to talk to. But remember, in high school, grade 12, a lot of those kids are not really kids anymore. They're 17, 18, some of them are 19. And some of them commit crimes. Some of them join gangs. So the cops are at school not just to be a liaison officer and a resource, but they're there because there are crimes or could be crimes in the school itself, including gangs. And those cops are surely desperately wanted by the people who would be bullied, roughed up, beat up, robbed of lunch money. People who don't want to see drugs or guns in schools. But those latte liberals in the Hamptons, to quote the Rev, would shut those things down. Did you find that Scavino? Here, I'll find it really quick. It was just such a vid. No, it was a couple days ago, maybe. Dan Scavino is one of the president's spokesmen, and he's got two accounts. I don't know the difference between them. He's just got lots of great Trump vids, that's for sure. I'm looking at his account that just says Dan Scavino, and I'm scrolling back a few days. Maybe it's his other account, which is, I think, Dan Scavino 45 or something. Oh, here it is. You know, there's a lot of great ads there, but the one I'm looking for, you know, if you look at the Dan Scavino, Scavino 45, if I won't look at it because that's boring TV, but if you can scroll through it, it's a short ad, and it's the primary audio is Kamala Harris laughing. I don't see right there. I think it's on the Scavino 45. Let me get out of that because there's nothing worse than me searching for something I don't know how to find on TV. But that's the thing is, when you take the police out, like New York City, it's an amazing city. It's a great city. It's a city of all contrasts, the richest and the poorest. And if you've ever been to someone's house, or by which I mean an apartment or a condominium, co-op, or they have different words for it in New York. A lot of New York towers have at least a receptionist, like a doorman, mailman, to accept packages, whatever, in the lobby. And quite a few of them have guards. And this isn't a new thing in the last year. I mean, even when New York was the safest big city in America, under Giuliani, and actually, thankfully, those policies continued under Bloomberg. Especially you go to some of these fancier buildings where who knows? I mean, it's New York. Maybe the condos start at $2 million, and maybe the ones on the top of the tower are $10 million. You never know who lives there. There could be some super celebrity, some super rich person who might have millions of dollars worth of art. Who knows? In some of those towers, you never know. So it's no surprise at all that you would have guards, plural, in the building. And it's sort of fun to have a doorman, and you're welcomed, and your mailbox there. It's sort of cool. It's a New York style of living. Those people will be fine, or fine enough, if the NYPD has $1 billion taken out of their budget. Because they were paying through their monthly condo fees, or whatever they're called, co-op fees. I don't know the lingo there in New York. Those people will be fine without the NYPD. They'll all chip in an extra $100 a month, and they'll hire an extra armed guard in their building. But that's the fancy parts of town. That's Manhattan and some of the tonier parts of Brooklyn, etc. But you're in some of the poorer parts, blacker parts. People don't have armed private security in their apartments there. And so, as the Rev. Al Sharpton said, whose grandma is going to be, at best, have their purse stolen, but at worst it could be much worse. And these days you see torchings and riots. So yeah, it's not going to be the latte liberals in the Hamptons. They've actually all moved out of Manhattan, and they've gone to their country homes while things simmer down. In Los Angeles, it's just as incredible. The city can't even keep the lights on. They're having rolling blackouts. They got fires, they got rolling blackouts, they got riots. That's just basic principles of government. Do those things, and they're not able to do it. We haven't even talked about the two key subjects in the headline of today's broadcast. Oh, I hear in my ear that Justin has the vid. Let's take a look. like that. That was incredibly quick. I don't even think that was 15 seconds. Play that again. I think that's like less than 10 seconds. Let's take a look at that just one more time. Just that laugh track.
Right?
I think that nails it. That laugh by her is reminiscent of Hillary Clinton's cackle. And I just think that overlaying that laugh on top of the riot viz with goofy Joe Biden with a mask on taking a knee, I don't know, maybe that ad was programmed to my emotional, intellectual, pressure points or something. But I saw that, I thought, oh my God, that is exactly it. That's exactly it. All right, well, let me catch up on the Super Chats. It's 12:30. We're halfway done the show. I want to show you two more American vids when we come out. One is a great Biden clip, and the other is my favorite American governor, Kristi Noem from South Dakota. And then I'll get to the headline stuff of the show, WestJet and a Quebec COVID detention facility. And then if we have time, I'll tell you a little bit about this lip balm. It's just regular lip balm. Let's read some of the Super Chats. Pink Phoenix Nails, $1.49. Thank you very much. Truth on the Wind. Is it Truth on the Wind or Truth on the Wind? I'm guessing on the wind. $5. Ezra, why hide MISC growing? Report on MISC and stop the anti-mask COVID is a hoax BS. You push the right into lies while MISC grows in numbers. You've tweeted that to me several times before. I think it's at least the third time I've read that. Maybe I should Google what MISC is, because I just don't know. Oh, okay, I hear in my ear, Justin says the thing kids get due to COVID. All right, I'm sorry, I just don't know about that, and maybe I should get smart on it. Esoltica, $10. Pilots want to preserve their industry. Canada needs rapid testing program in air travel corridors now. Canada needs a safe end to the 14-day self-quarantine or an industry dies. Well, that's the crazy thing, is that my understanding is you can walk right into the United States right now. There's no 14-day quarantine. It's when you come back that Trudeau makes you quarantine for 2 weeks. That's killing the travel industry. I've been going to Niagara Falls because it's super fun. That town is really an American destination, but now it has no Americans allowed to come in. Why? There's no risk anymore. There was risk in New York, but the risk was in New York City, not in Niagara Falls, New York. MEC, $2. So glad for Rebel. Fabulous news source. Thank you. Laird Kintyre, $5. Long beyond tired of COVID restrictions everywhere I go. I stock up on groceries whenever I shop, so won't need more soon. Nothing is enjoyable anymore. You are so right, and I'm going to tell you the story of this little lip balm because it's on point with what you're saying. Blue Autumn, $5. Thank you. Yorgi, $5. Hey, I like to work with you guys as a reporter. What can I do? Well, if you're serious about it, send us a demo tape. There's no substitute for sending a demo tape. You can tell us how good you are. You can tell us how much you like us, and I appreciate hearing that. But the only test of can you do a video is, can you do a video? Let's see what you look like. Unjust on Trudeau, $2. What if you have a family of 7? Do you eject a kid? That was such a weird thing. You could only meet one grandparent? How does that supposed to make sense scientifically? Julian Borges, $2. That Pulp Fiction scene was hot. Kidding. I haven't seen that in, 20 years, and I don't think I need to see it again. Cindy McSeven, nice to see you again. $5. Job experience equal take the mask off. They're destroying your immune system. Yeah, how about get fit, get outside, get exercise, interact with other kids, build up your immune system, eat right, have some vitamins. That's the exact opposite of what everybody's been doing for 6 months, me included. How many pounds have I put on in this pandemic? I have no one to blame. If I was a leftist, I would sue the fork company. Just like Reverend Al wants to sue the gun manufacturers for all this crime. I'm going to sue the fork company, making me this fat. No, it's not the fork company that's made me this fat. I mean, if there was no fork, I would be using a spoon. And if there was no spoon, I'd probably be eating off a dull knife. And if there was no dull knife, I'd, who God knows what would be going on. Don't blame the fork. Don't blame the fork. Do not blame the fork. Viking Insane. $5. In Canada, those who question mandatory masks are being identified and persecuted on social media as monsters. Even local politicians are participating. We had a heck of a video that David did at that Dollarama. Maybe you can have that on standby. I don't propose to get into it right now. But it was quite something of some two masked Karens just shouting at a woman in a Dollarama. It was shocking. Shocking but not surprising. Kane Enmark, $2. I got my firearms rights hoodie like Sheila today. Oh, that's good. Gabe Duguay, $5. Sharpton was all BLM weeks ago and has only changed his tune due to polls. You're so right. Well, like I said, he started that riot over Tawana Brawley 20, 30 years ago. Viking Insane, $2. Pour water on Kamala and she would melt. She does cackle. Bill Howie, $5. O'Toole bent the knee to the mainstream media by leaving out Findlay and Sloan from Shadow Cabinet. No? Sloan would be Derek Sloan. Who's the Findlay? Oh, Carrie Lynn Findlay, right. Sorry, I was just thinking for a second. Yeah, he didn't reach out to Sloan, did he? And it's a huge Shadow Cabinet. I just glanced at it. I didn't have a chance to really digest it. All right, so we're caught up. It's 12:36. I'm going to move off American stories, but first I want to show you this funny, again, the Trump campaign, a clip of Joe Biden, and their thesis is that he's, all the questions are planted, and all the answers are pre-written for him in a teleprompter. And if you look at this exchange, it looks like it could be true. Take a look.
And I would like to know, what will your administration do to help them give them that chance? Thank you.
Move it up here. You know, there used to be a basic bargain in this country. Workers shared in the wealth their work helped create.
You know, I use a teleprompter on my nighttime show. I write the script myself. We load it in the prompter. Why do I use the script on my produced show? So I don't leave anything out, so I don't miss anything, so I can get the wording right, nail it in the first try, but also so that we can indicate where we want the certain visual elements, like a photograph or a video clip. That's why I use a prompter. And I write my own words. But I know one of the problems with a prompter is it can be going a little slow, so you're waiting, or it can be paused, or the words can just be... So there's a lot of little tiny technical errors that can come when you're waiting for the words on a teleprompter. They might be going too fast, so you missed a sentence. They might be going too slow, so you're waiting for it. Did you hear what he said there? He said, what was the first thing he said? Something like, move it up, and then it was so slow because if the prompter is not rolling fast, you're stuck saying the words as slowly as they come. So as someone who uses a teleprompter every day, I think that's exactly what's happened here. It was too low. He says, move it up. And then when the words are there, they're coming so slow, he can't read them in a normal tone of voice. Take a look.
And I would like to know, what will your administration do to help them give them that chance? Thank you.
You know, there used to be a basic bargain in this country. Workers shared in the wealth their work helped create.
Sorry, there was a little static. I was fiddling with my mic there. But you heard him. He said, move it up, and then he answered so slowly. That's Joe Biden. And he's lost some of his mojo in the last decade. A politician in America who I think is the visceral opposite. Young, vivacious, strong, fit, tough, energetic, courageous. You can see I'm a super fan. I'm talking about the governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem. And people were accusing her state of spreading the virus, blah, blah, blah. Look at her pushback. Take a look at this.
Governor, we saw the numbers. They said to use cell phone data to track, to find out who went and what they're experiencing. They say your cases jumped 35%. What's the truth?
Well, that's actually not factual whatsoever. What they did is they took a snapshot in time, and they did a lot of speculation, did some back-of-the-napkin math, and made up some numbers and published them. This study wasn't even done by a healthcare study. It was done by the Institute of Labor Economics, and it's completely untrue. That's what's so frustrating, is I know the media does not like what South Dakota has done. They have deemed me as the governor that made all the wrong decisions by letting my people have freedom, by using personal responsibility. But listen, our people are happy. We've had big events. We have in South Dakota 124 cases that were tied to the Sturgis motorcycle bike rally out of 500,000 people that came. So what they have done here is completely false, and it's unfair, and it's not doing the public service.
Have any other organizations looked at the Sturgis event to figure out whether or not it did spread the disease? Or are you just saying this is the only study out there right now, and they're using pseudoscience to make you look bad?
You know, other states are tracking cases. I think we have 11 other cases that have tracked, people that have traveled to the Sturgis motorcycle bike rally, but it's less than 300 cases. And I think that is really what's wrong with this study that we see that was released that the media jumped all over, is the kind of speculation that they put out there, the inaccuracies are just unfair and not truthful whatsoever. You know, this is what modeling has done throughout the pandemic. On a typical day in the pandemic, the models and the experts all told me I'd have 10,000 people in the hospital on any given day, and I've had less than 100. The vast majority of the days, I have less than 100 people in the hospital today. So we're taking the virus seriously, but we're also recognizing that there's consequences to what we've seen happen in other states, that shutting down business.
The freest state in the union, no lockdown at all. There's this crazy smear saying like 250,000 people got sick because there was a bike rally there. No, there was 500,000 people there. Only 120 something got the bug. They're trying to smear her because she's a star, a rising star. She spoke at the RNC. And I think she's a great governor. I've followed her for a while because about a year ago, she introduced legislation called riot boosting legislation. Now that was in particular in opposition to Greenpeace type extremists who would break or otherwise do violence against oil and gas installations. There's a lot of oil and gas in North Dakota, South Dakota. So riot boosting is what they called anyone who encouraged a riot, who boosted the riot, who directed it, encouraged it, funded it, organized it. And this law, I did a whole video on it. This, I don't know if it was actually passed or if there was a modification to it. Riot boosting basically said if you're a booster of a riot, you are on the hook. We'll sue you anywhere in the world, and we'll sue you for like a multiple of the amount of damage. Can you imagine if every state in the union had riot boosting legislation in place these days? Anyone who was whipping up a riot could be held to account. And my favorite thing about her riot boosting law, and I'm going from memory here, is that you didn't have to rely on the police or the prosecutors to use it. You as a private citizen or business could use it too. So if someone burnt down your business and there was someone who was whipping up that riot, you could sue the riot booster and get dough. So that's why they hate Kristi Noem, and that's why I like her. All right, we have covered 7 videos plus 1 or 2 extra, and it's 12:44. We're doing okay. I want to show you a video that I only learned about through Paul Joseph Watson. If you know Paul Joseph Watson, he's based in the UK. He's got a great accent, and he does just really humorous, sarcastic, political commentary videos. He's got a unique style. I've had the pleasure of meeting him once or twice. Very mild-mannered guy in person. Really normal guy. I really enjoyed my few visits with him. I haven't been in the UK in a while, obviously, because of the pandemic. So I follow him on Twitter, and he posts this story. Of Quebec City says it will isolate uncooperative citizens in secret corona facility. Health officials also visiting homes to take away people who violate quarantine. Paul Joseph Watson, he's in London. Authorities in Quebec City, Canada have announced they will isolate uncooperative citizens. I'm thinking, why am I learning about this from a bloke in the UK? And I'm thinking, really? Well, there's videotape. Do you have the video there? Check out this video, and it's got English subtitles on it. Why am I only learning about this from a Brit? Why am I not learning about this from the front page of the Globe and Mail, National Post, CBC, etc.? Take a look.
Docteur Girard, avant de terminer, il y a une journaliste qui ne pouvait pas être présente ici qui demande brièvement, est-ce que des ordonnances ont été émises à l'endroit des clients récalcitrants?
Yes.
Merci, Docteur Girard.
Est-ce que ça peut être une phrase complète en français?
Oui. L'ordonnance concernait justement 2 personnes qui ne collaboraient pas. Et on trouve que c'est formidable de pouvoir finalement utiliser ce levier-là. Vous savez, avant, si on n'était pas en urgence sanitaire, le directeur de santé publique peut utiliser ce pouvoir pendant 72 heures, en attendant qu'un juge finalement là, confirme l'ordonnance. Dans le cas de la COVID-19, nous avons la possibilité d'isoler quelqu'un pendant 14 jours. Et c'est ce que nous avons fait ce matin. Et c'est ce que nous avons déjà fait dans le passé. Et on a aussi, comme on l'a fait ce matin, obligé une personne à collaborer à l'enquête. Et on l'avait déjà fait dans le passé, avec succès, et avec une collaboration extraordinaire des corps policiers.
Merci à tout le monde. Passez une bonne fin de journée.
Quand vous ordonnez quelqu'un pendant 14 jours à rester chez eux, là, c'est pas chez eux que ça se passe. Là. 14 jours, là, le séjour, c'est à la prison de une cellule de détention.
Est-ce que vous avez l'impression d'être dans une prison?
Ben,
parce que c'est ça. Souvent, ce qu'on fait, c'est que c'est un endroit. Nous, comme on est le CIUS, en fait, a la possibilité d'offrir justement des isolements préventifs. Ça se passe finalement. C'est une disposition qui est beaucoup plus facile quand on a quelqu'un qui collabore pas. Puis ça devient vraiment complexe.
Personne qui est surveillée, mais
ouais.
Elle est en isolement exactement où ça peut être aussi.
C'est pas nécessaire.
C'est ça. Mais est-ce que
c'est pas à la maison,
c'est pas la, ben, ça dépend de la personne.
Okay.
Parce qu'on a eu des personnes qu'on a isolées chez eux. À un moment donné, la personne, on voyait bien qu'elle n'était pas chez elle. On lui a fait, donc, on est allé chez elle. Et là, on lui a dit, on vous isole là où on veut que vous soyez.
We are isolating you where we want you to be. And if I'm understanding that right, that comes from people who are going out to a bar or a club, have not tested positive for the cough. Were just there and other people there had it. And they're being sentenced to a 14-day quarantine. And if they don't stay at home, they're arrested and taken to some secret facility? Am I using the wrong words? I'm trying to understand what that smirking little tyrant was saying. Not an elected man. It's one of these public health officers making between $300,000 and $400,000 a year, probably. And just a little smirk. Oh, he's taken away. Is it like a prison? Well, I won't really tell you. Unidentified location. If they resist, we get the cops to help. What? So, like rendition. Like he's some terrorist put in some CIA plane and sent to a black site somewhere? And yeah, I think that's crazy. But it's not the only place I've seen that in the free world. I think I've shown this clip before. This is Jacinda Ardern, the socialist Prime Minister of New Zealand. I can't look at her without thinking the word ghoul. It's not her look. It's what she says and her scowling smirk as she says, we will put you in prison indefinitely if you don't take the test. How can you smile when she says that? But she does. Take a look.
You said I wanted to, I've got a number of questions about people refuse, what do we do if someone refuses to be tested? Well, they can't now. If someone refuses in our facilities to be tested, they have to keep staying. So they won't be able to leave after 14 days. They have to stay on for another 14 days. So it's a pretty good incentive. You either get your tests done and make sure you're cleared, or we will keep you in a facility longer. So I think most people will look at that and say, I'll take the test. So
where's the science there? So again, it's not even someone who's sick. It's not someone who's got the Wuhan flu. It's someone who doesn't want to be jabbed, has no symptoms. She'll keep them indefinitely. So that's a good incentive to let us jab you. It's very, very alarming to me. If we had boots on the ground in New Zealand like we now do in Melbourne, Australia, you're darn straight we'd be lawyering up there too. So I've covered everything except for my lip balm story and WestJet. Why don't we just take a quick peek at WestJet? You might recall that a couple weeks ago, maybe if you can find their tweet, a couple weeks ago, out of the blue, apropos of nothing, WestJet, which I call woke jet, just announced that they're having a zero tolerance policy towards face masks on their plane. That was their, you see that? Zero tolerance mask policy. Let me read. Your safety continues to be our number one priority. Effective September 1, we are introducing a zero tolerance policy in support of our mandatory mask mandate. We ask that if you choose not to wear a mask, you choose not to fly with us. Zero tolerance. Pretty clear, isn't it? Like there's not a lot of wiggle room there. It's a requirement that WestJetters and guests wear a mask throughout. Non-compliance penalty, suspension, blah, 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 ban for 1 year. And I know a thing or two about masks. We hired a lawyer to literally review every mask bylaw in Canada. I don't know if you know that. If you go to maskexemption.ca, why don't you go there? Because I want to tell one more thing there. I think we update that every week. So I've read every mask law in Canada, and you can see we've got New Brunswick. There's the airport one. Yeah, click on that one. So if you click there, and then it says what the law is, what the exemptions are, and then you can click the bylaw. Oh, wait, just go up for one more second. You see it says children under 2 are exempt? Like that's the very first exemption. And if you don't believe me, we got the bylaw there. Just click on the bylaw, right there, and you'll see it takes you to, we got to fix that website. Can you send a note to Sarah? They've changed the URL for that, but I promise you I've read the correct version. Send a note to A10 and Sarah. We got to fix that. There's a number of exemptions, and the bylaw itself says you must remove your mask when getting on the plane, so your ID can be checked. You can remove your mask when you're on the plane to have food or drink, and they serve food and drink on flights. They serve bottles of water. They serve. I've flown WestJet at least once during the pandemic. I'm trying to remember what they served. I think it was those delicious little cookies, if I recall. And I don't remember if it was water or pop or something. So they're serving you. Obviously, you got to take your mask off for that. And if you have like cookies and a coffee and a bottle of water, that's half an hour. Yeah, thanks for finding it. There you go. So there's some, you can see right here, Section 31 of this is from the Transport Canada page. Anyways, so they're saying zero tolerance ban for a year, but I'm here to tell you that's not what the law says. And the exemptions from the law are just as integral to the law as the teeth to the law. You can't say we're banning, we're mandating masks for these 5 people, these 5 groups of people, and we're not mandating it for these 5 groups of people. You can't say this is the law, but this isn't. They're both part of the law. So WestJet was in this, and my number one thought was, why are you lying? That's not the law. You can't force disabled people to wear a mask. You can't force children of tender years to wear a mask. You can't force people with a doctor's note to wear a mask. And why are you even pretending that you do? Because I've been on your plane during the pandemic. You serve food. Why are you lying? I thought it was so weird, and I ran on a rant about it a week or two ago. And they even wrote back to me. They wrote back to me saying, oh, well, we have some fine print in there, blah, blah, blah. What a bunch of weird WestJet people. And would you look at this? Would you look at this? I think we got a video clip. Do we have a video clip? Here's play a bit of a clip.
It is bullshit. Bullshit. Okay. Bullshit. We've all seen it.
Listen to
We
me.
have all seen it.
This is going to get finished with you sat in this chair. You need to load up the plane.
You goofy fucking cunt.
Continue with that
Beat
chair.
it. Excuse me. What is his name?
This is not my
Everyone has seen it. No, his partner. Everyone has seen it.
There is a law.
A little hard to see there. Maybe we can grab just a print story. There's one in CBC, one in CTV. So there's a family. There we go. WestJet says it canceled. That's the craziest part of the story. So you might have heard some babies crying. There was a 19-month-old baby. That's just over a year and a half. That's a really little baby. I mean, it's not a newborn, but that's just a wobbly little one. So little, masks don't even make any sense. By the way, people that little don't even get the Wuhan flu. But look at that headline. WestJet says it canceled a Calgary to Toronto flight because passengers refused to comply with mask policy. And you can see a cop here. It's actually, yeah, go ahead, press play just for a little bit there if you can. Get some, it's an interesting, so there's a little bit of the viz. So they call the cops. This is a night flight. I've taken that night flight. Night flight's a terrible flight. You take off from Calgary at like midnight, or 1 a.m. even, and you land in Toronto 5:30, 6 a.m. It's an awful flight, and it's even worse for little people. Like a 19-month-old baby's probably going to sleep the whole way. A 3-year-old kid's it's going to be, you just got to get him to sleep. It's not comfortable. But you saw, actually, the first exemption is kids under 2 years old. So this 19-month-old kid is not wearing a mask. The 3-year-old kid is, which is ridiculous in itself. So the woke flight attendants say, put on the mask, and they say, well, she's under 2, put on the mask, no exemptions. Apparently she throws up in the mask or something. You can imagine how stressed the kid is. Oh, so this is for public, you're causing a kid to throw up. There was no risk there anyways. The cops come on the plane. Are you crazy? What is the baby going, well, it's like my favorite Gavin McInnes video of him fighting the baby. I don't know if you've ever seen that video. It's just, you gotta watch it. So funny about how to fight a baby. Other than his Scottish iPhone video, his best ever. Yeah, it's a 19-month-old. I would even call that a baby. I guess you could call that a toddler. You brought the police on the plane to subdue. Yeah, look at this. This is Gavin's video. How to fight a baby. Oh no, it's so funny. It's so funny. You gotta Google this and watch and he tells you that the way to beat a baby is to gently blow in their face because I didn't know that trick, but now I totally know how to fight a baby. Very funny video. So that baby was obviously younger than 19 months, but 19-month-old. Have you ever heard that goofy thing? Would you prefer to fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? That's got to be the dumbest question I've ever heard, but once you hear that question, you start to think about it. Well, would I like to fight a horse-sized duck? No, I would not. Or would I fight 100 duck-sized horses? Well, first of all, I don't want to fight any ducks or horses. I'm not a particular fan of ducks, but I wouldn't want to fight them. And how are you not going to like a horse? Now, you don't want to fight a horse, I'll tell you that. But a horse-sized duck. So I think most people say I'd rather fight 100 duck-sized horses because they're little. They could probably hurt your ankles, I'll tell you that. I wouldn't want to fight a horse-sized duck. That's terrifying. I could probably just snap you with the beak, bat you with a wing. Luckily, we don't have to deal with that problem. The police were sent in to fight a duck-sized person. Like 19 months old. Okay, they're about that big. They're about that big. Hey, officer, I got a question for you. Would you rather fight a duck-sized person or a person-sized duck? And this isn't a hypothetical situation, officer, because that's why you've been called onto this WestJet flight tonight. Hey, officer, we got this duck-sized person who's really out of control. 19-month-old kid. Try to put a mask on. That's illegal. Mask exemption clearly applies to someone under 2 years. It's the very first exemption, in fact. Flight attendants getting really weird. Baby pukes. Hey, thanks, guys. Better get the cops in. We got a duck-sized person that needs to be wrestled under control. As you can see in the first video clip there, people were saying, back off. Why are you picking on the kids? What are you doing? People are sick of this stupid bylaw. And they know you're on a plane together, rebreathing the same air for 4 hours, an hour of which your mask is off because you're having a snack or coffee or water. Like, who's kidding who? Bring the cops on. But look at that CTV headline. I want to read that CTV headline. Actually, scroll to the bottom of the story, that CTV. So the cops come on. They refuse to lay charges. Arrest that baby! And then, can you pump it up just a little bit? We spoke with the crew. Okay. And we kind of resolved the mask matter. That was no longer an issue, said an unnamed Calgary police officer while on the plane tackling the duck-sized person. But look at that last sentence. Unfortunately, the behavior of the rest of the passengers have left the crew feeling unsafe to fly, which is why they've made the decision they have. So it wasn't even the duck-sized baby, the duck-sized person, that caused them, and it wasn't the family, that was the dad there. It was the flight crew didn't like being chided for being wrong, illegal, punitive. I'm not going to use the word bullying because I don't know their actual tone, but if you're forcing a little baby to put on a mask and the baby throws up, I'm going to say it's probably bullying. And then you call the police on because you don't know how to handle it. There's a baby. There's a 19-month-old baby. Did you call 911 for that, or was that the non-emergency line? 911, is this, what do they say when you call 911? 911, ambulance, fire, or police, or whatever they say. What's the nature of your emergency? Where are you calling from? Yeah, I'm at the airport. What's going on? Is there a hijacking? Is there a crime in progress? No, not really. Okay, well, can you describe the suspect? Have you seen the suspect? Yeah, I definitely have. Okay, who's the suspect? We've got a squad car on the way right now. What's going on? Is there a hijacking? Well, sort of. I mean, this one's so cute. He's hijacked my heart. But yeah, we've got a duck-sized person who doesn't wear a mask on. This is 911. This isn't Pizza 73. This isn't Pizza Nova. You sure you meant to call 911 to get the armed Calgary Police Service to come on an aircraft, SWAT team style, go down the aisle because you've got a little duck-sized person there and doesn't want to wear a mask. And you're WestJet, and you're a real company, and you really work there, and this is what you're really doing. Cops did not lay charges. They should have laid charges against WestJet for violating the mask bylaw. Other passengers clearly not pleased with it, so therefore we must punish all the passengers by canceling the flight, because the flight attendants didn't feel safe. There was a baby on board with big muscles. Here, come here, little baby. I forget exactly how small a 19-month-old. It's been a while. But you know what? The thing about a 19-month-old, you probably want to go like this. Like this. You know, cute little baby. Oh, we can't fly the plane because there's a 19-month-old on the plane. They canceled the flight to punish everyone who sided with the baby. Why would you ever fly WestJet again, even if you personally believe in the mask, Michigas, even if you personally are compliant, why would you risk getting on a plane with such snowflake flight attendants that after losing a fight with a 19-month-old baby, they take it out on everyone else by canceling the flight? I don't feel safe with that baby on the plane. Why would you fly WestJet? I'm told that babies of that age are 2.5 feet tall. Listen, I have had little people that were, I'm just trying to remember, it's hard to remember for me when your kids have grown past that, what 19 months looks like. Depends on the kid. You can have a kid who's walking around age 1, right? By the time you're 19 months old, they're all walking. I would call that person a toddler. And they're probably stringing together a few words, right? I'm trying to remember. You haven't had kids yet. They're the cutest. You know, the people say the terrible twos. I call them the terrific twos. You know, terrible twos when they're sort of asserting themselves. Obviously, that's 24 months now. Asserting themselves. They've learned the word no. I thought age 3 was the cutest age of all. But 19 months is pretty, that's really a baby. That's barely a toddler. Why are you putting a mask on a little person like that? The law, there is no, I want to tell you, I've read every bylaw in Canada. There is no jurisdiction in this country where someone 19 months old must wear a mask. None. None. Some of them, the exemptions are up to 5 years old. There is no place in Canada where someone under 2 has to wear a mask. No place. And like I say, when you're on WestJet, everyone must take their mask off when they board the plane to prove their ID. And everyone can take their mask off when they're drinking water or having snacks. Imagine calling the cops. Do not fly WestJet, even if you're a compliant submissive who, like Teresa Tam, wears a mask during sex. If that's your thing, you know, I'm not here to judge. You want to wear a mask during sex? That's something you think in your own mind. You don't say that out loud, Teresa Tam. Gee, I can hardly wait to put on a mask. And don't say that out loud. Don't say that out loud. Have a sense of mystery. You know, you want to say that on Tinder? You want to say that, you know, in the privacy of some dating site? Fine. Don't say that out loud. What a world we live in. All right, well, I did not have time to tell you the story of the lip balm. It's more interesting than it sounds. If I save time on Friday, I will tell you the story of this lip balm. It's a heartbreaking story. It's a heartbreaking story. I'm a little bit complicit in the story. I'm not proud of myself. But I thought about this lip balm for a bit. And I thought, I have a story about this that describes the era we're in. And it's not a happy thing. And I'm not proud of what I did myself. I'll tell you about it on Friday, okay? We got some super chats. I know it's 108. I want to whip through these super chats. On Friday, remind me, I will tell you the unproud story behind this lip balm. Super chats. Adam Clark, $7. If I was the devil, I would just keep doing what I'm doing. Paul Harvey. Yeah, I guess so. Vito Anthony D, $5. Okay, Blue Jays, let's play ball. Love you, Ezra. Well, thank you, Vito. Am I reading the right ones here? Wayne Swiddick, $5. 2 adults plus 3 kids equals 5. Impressive. Corey, $5. Thank you. Basil, the Pump and Seagull, $2. WestJet stole $500 from me. Oh, the industry's a mess right now. You would think that if you're still working for an airline, Air Canada, WestJet, whatever, that you would just be happy to have work. So many of those people have been laid off. It's heartbreaking to see. I used to fly so much I would get to know some of the stewardesses, flight attendants on some of the routes. They would get to know me. I used to fly a lot. No one flies anymore. The whole industry is killed. Wayne Swiddick, $5. UK, Australia, and Canada have gone crazy. Some U.S. sages too. Go Biden, go. Laugh out loud, yeah. David Ann's, $5. Thoughts on the video by Kevin Annett saying that making masks mandatory is illegal. I haven't seen that video by Kevin. And does unmask.ca work? Probably not, no. All right, we'll have to get that ready for Friday. I don't know if Sarah Aitan are watching. I'd like to get all the masks. I'd like to get that site properly and then unmask.ca to forward there. We've got some masks that you might actually want to wear. I know it's hard to believe. Our site's not ready, though. David Ann's $5. Thoughts on the video by Kevin Anna? I just read that. James LeGros, $5. I'm seeing discarded masks where I used to see discarded candy wrappers. Are they not a biohazard now, but the ones wearing them in their cars? LMAO, you're so right. I think I told you the craziest one I saw was a lady in a canoe in the middle of Lake Louise wearing a mask in the middle of a lake. It's ridiculous. Third World's Girl, $10. Why isn't Rebel News ever part of the Doug Ford news conferences? If you are refused access, can you legally pursue it? We need Rebel to ask Ford those tough questions. I accept every word you've just written there, and I'll make the same inquiry later today. I think one of the reasons is because we're so busy out and about covering the news around this great province. But I'm told in my ear that we have called a few times, but we've mysteriously not gotten selected to put questions through. I'm sure he's screening his calls just like Justin Trudeau does. Maybe we'll have to sue him like we're suing Trudeau. All right, it's 1:11. I didn't tell you my lip balm story, but I talked to you about duck-sized people and WestJet and some videos from America. And my favorite, I want to end with two videos. We got the dog video coming up. But just one more time, I want to show you France's smartest man on the proper way to cough with a mask on. Just take a quick look. Yeah. So just take off your mask, cough into your hand-shaking hand, and put your mask back on. Mask off, cough into your hand-shaking hand, and put it back on. Perfect. You're not as smart as Emmanuel Macron, you see. Yeah, that's just classic. Take the mask off, and it's got to be your hand-shaking hand. Not even like, they say, cough into your elbow. Cough into your hand-shaking hand, and then put the mask right back on so people know. All right, it's 1:12. We went a bit long. Let me leave you, as I like to do, with a video that was personally selected by Justin. We like to end with dog videos, which I find make me 5 to 25% happier these days. Take a look.